How's it, guys? This is Dayvy FPL and welcome back to our second live stream of this preseason. Now it might be your third live stream with me. Apologies to those of you who joined last time for this 9K celebration. It was a little bit of a disappointment as my upload speed was completely subpar. So I unfortunately had to cancel that one, but we are back. And what better way to celebrate the first of the month than a fresh live stream to help plan our FPL drafts. So coming at you on this lovely Thursday night, the 1st of August, and hopefully it's going to be a good month for us life-wise and FPL-wise. Hopefully we get a good start to the FPL season. So I'm hoping that this stream is coming to you crispy and clean. So I'd appreciate it in the comments if you just said that everything is looking sharp or good, and then we can take it from there. I appreciate all of you guys being in here. I've been checking the chat and I already see some familiar names in here. We have XX Beast Gulper, who was first in chat, so congratulations for that. And we have Daniel saying, Dayvy boy, that is my nickname. And how's it, guys? How's it, Daniel? Igor, Gents, Marios, Nathan, Caden, Ola. I hope you guys are doing well this Thursday evening. Now, what I thought we would do is firstly, I just want to say a big thank you to John and Mist MC. Unfortunately, last live stream, they did pass through some donations, but I unfortunately missed them. John with the $5 donation and Mist with $1 saying, keep up the good content, man. Thanks to you guys. I really appreciate it. And sorry I didn't get to read your comments out and all your donations last stream. So I thought to start off this stream, as you can see on the screen, this team is looking quite subpar. So I thought that just so we give everyone a little bit of time to get into the chat, I would just kind of do a little bit of a draft here and give you my almost updated draft and kind of what I'm thinking. And hopefully that'll be appreciated. I know a lot of people have been bugging me about when I'm going to be uploading my final draft, but that will probably be towards the end of next week, probably about Wednesday or Thursday. But don't worry, I will be releasing it, so you don't have to be concerned about that. That is a joke draft, lol, says Alan. Yes, it is. I just quickly selected like auto pick, so don't take this team too seriously. So we'll start here taking everyone out, as I don't think many of these players will be staying in. Okay, I'll leave Sterling in as that's kind of a no-brainer for me at the moment. But other than that, it's all kind of a little bit oblivious. So I think starting off in goal, we'll probably go for the ever-popular Button. And then, as you know, and I've seen a lot of you talking in chat, is about this transfer of Heaton to Aston Villa. Now, Pope was someone that I was looking at, but he does have a little bit of a niggle, so I currently am a little bit skeptical about him. So right now, I'm probably just going to put Joe Hart. A couple of people saying that Joe Hart has a couple of hard fixtures, but I think once you get past them, they should be fine. And I mean, the Liverpool game is at home, so hopefully he can make some saves. Now, this will probably change to Pope if he does come right with injury. So I've kind of gone for Hart at the moment, but as I said, Pope will probably fit in there. One of the interesting rotations is between Heaton and Pope or Heaton and Hart, as you basically can play, I think I saw you can play the entire season without playing one top 6 side for your keeper. So if you want to go for rotating keepers, that's something that you can do. Then we're going to get my lad Robertson, who I've kind of been pumping out for the entire season. And then I think that someone that we all have kind of been looking at is Zinchenko. He looks pretty nailed at the moment with Benjamin Mendy set to miss the start of the season for about a month, apparently. Going to miss the first four game weeks. So, I mean, Zinchenko for me is kind of a no-brainer. Then someone who kind of is worrying me a little bit is Lucas Digne. and more a fact of even Coleman. As you know, I was a person that wanted to double up on that Everton defense just for these lovely fixtures, but it seems that they are not starting off the preseason or ending it, in that fact, too well. A couple of losses there, but I can't really talk as a Liverpool fan. Liverpool are kind of doing quite badly as well. So I'm going for Digne at the moment. And then I think this man from Sheffield United has played the entire preseason out of position in midfielder, as a midfielder, and coming in at 4 million, that's quite cheap. So we could go for them. How's it, JCCR? He says, hi, David. Calling me by my first name here. Quite official. But how are you doing tonight? I'm going to leave the last spot open just so we can kind of get a little bit of budget rotation here. Going to put Salah in, as he's probably going to be one of my main players for my squad for the entire season. Then I'm going to put Perez in, as I'm favoring him a little bit at the moment. Then we're going to go for King and Wilson as my striking pair. And then we'll just pop young Greenwood in there as a little bit of a budget enabler. And that leaves us with quite a lot of money. So JC says he is from Costa Rica. That is very interesting. I'm glad that you can join us tonight. I'm sure there's a couple of people around the world. It's 12 a.m. in India catching your stream. Cheers. That is a real support. I really appreciate it. And hopefully it does not bore you to sleep and we have you for quite a while in the stream. Some people are saying Ceballos. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm sorry, I'm quite known for butchering a lot of these players' surnames. So I apologize if maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong. Now, one of the interesting new additions I'm making is Azpilicueta. I think that the Chelsea fixtures are looking quite nice. Obviously, Azpi can kind of rotate for any Chelsea defender you want. I know someone that I'm looking at now is Emerson, as I always kind of favor that wing-back spot. But Azpilicueta could play at right-back for Chelsea, so it'll be quite interesting to see. Then we're going for the budget enabler Dendonka, and then you see we have 8.5 million left in the bank. So let's just go to midfielders and kind of look at who is in that 8.5 bracket. But we could also probably upgrade someone in our midfield. Someone that I've mentioned, if you have not watched, I dropped the video yesterday of the best FPL defenders in my opinion. I had Pogba there, so we could probably put a cheeky Pogba in here and then this team's pretty much done. So let's just go with this for now. This isn't final, it's just I think a little bit better on the eye than what my previous draft was. And then we can put Perez in for Dendonka. And that looks pretty good, except for the captain. Probably put that on Mo Salah. Or you could go for Sterling, both pretty good options. But this is probably how I'm going to leave this draft for the rest of the video. I hope you've kind of got some positive thoughts about this draft. I know a lot of people probably want to go for a 5 at the back. So you could go for that. This is just how I'm going to probably set up this draft. Not final, as I said, but I mean, it is what it is. I kind of thought that maybe this draft would look a little bit better than what I had at the start. So otherwise, if this is kind of what we're going to have, I think that I'm going to be getting into some of the questions that you guys have. Firstly, I saw there were a couple of other countries that people were mentioning. I have Nehal, I think, from Bangladesh. It's 1 a.m. yeah, so even better than, even later than the Indian viewers. So I appreciate you watching. And then we have Malaysia beating Bangladesh with 2:30 a.m. in the morning. So Face Nino, thanks for joining us here. We're getting quite a lot of subscribers there on the screen, so hope you guys enjoy this little feature that's popping up of the subscribers on screen. And hopefully you like seeing your name up in lights. So, getting onto some other questions that, one from Michael here saying, any plans getting Son when he is back? And this is something that I've mentioned to some people that it is completely in my favor that that we have Son suspended, as I think that I would be kind of scrambling for budget because I would definitely want Son in my team. I just love Son as an FPL player. I don't want to use the phrase selfish, but he kind of is that. He takes every shot he can and is an absolute wonder player for FPL because of his almost selfishness. So I think that I probably would be looking at getting Son back, especially because of the fact that after that City game, the Spurs fixtures are quite nice up until about the game week 9 mark, but then they both play Liverpool and Everton, which are doable fixtures. They could get anything in those games. So top 6 games are always a little bit hard to call. So you could opt for Son. It does come in, I think, 9.5, so a little bit expensive, but I mean, could be worthy and could get us lots of points. I just want to go up top here as I saw FPL Boona wishing me well for the 9K, so I appreciated Boona. A little bit of a quiet night for you there without the elite FPL boys streaming tonight, so I appreciated Boona, thanks a lot. And that just reminds me that this stream is to celebrate 9K. I know, as some of you guys were saying, a little bit closer to 10K, but that does not mean that it's too late for the 9K celebration. So thanks a lot for letting us hit 9K. It's all down to you guys and the support you guys are offering the channel. So I really appreciate it. And that's why I wanted to do this stream for you guys, as I know that recently I have not been the best with replying to comments and replying to comments and tweets and DMs. There's tons of people that message me, and I know when I started this channel I wanted to kind of reply to everyone, so I apologize for that. So I thought, what better way to do it than giving a Q&A for you guys, and where you can ask me questions, and hopefully I can answer them in a manner that is positive, positive advice for you guys and everything. So we have a question here from Brandon Horn. What do you think of playing both gents in the Everton double trouble mid in Rich and Siggy? So that's someone that I had in my original draft, was Sigurdsson. But with Everton's preseason form, it's been a little bit lackluster and disappointing for me. But as I said, that it is a little bit tough with Liverpool also not performing well in preseason. So I don't know how much we can look into preseason, but definitely something to keep our eye on. One video that I'm looking to probably create is the best preseason players. I've seen Barkley being mentioned a lot here, and he's had an absolute cracker of an end to the preseason. So probably going to be making that video where we can look at some of these other choices that have been performing well in preseason, and I actually hope that they transfer and their form transfers into the start. Thanks, Edwin, for the congratulations. We have Jason saying, I know this guy, congrats Dave. Thanks a lot, Jason. I hope you enjoy the stream and the rest of your evening. KG from SA as well. Pleasure to have you in the stream, brother. And Callum saying, hi, how's it? Crumb asking for my opinion on his squad of Edison, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Virgil van Dijk, Digne Robertson, Sterling, Siggy, Richarlison, Zaha, Wilson, and Jimenez. I'm not really that much of a fan of the triple Liverpool defense. If you want to play it like that, you can. But if you're going to double up on them, I would go for Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold, as I think that they offer a little bit more attacking threat. Whereas when you're going with Van Dijk, he could, if he loses that clean sheet and doesn't get a goal from a set piece, then you could be ending up with a disappointing season, start to the season with that triple up. So I would maximum probably go for TAA and Robertson, in my opinion. Okay, so now I'm going to be talking about Pepe, the man who has just signed for Arsenal. Personally, I think that it is a great signing for Arsenal. I think he's a very Arsenal player. A speedy winger is kind of always needed, and Arsenal play a very fast brand of football, so I can see him fitting in there. I personally think, I've seen a lot of kind of price predictions, but I personally think that he should be around 10 million. I don't know about you guys, but I've never seen an FPL player that we all want to get in our squads for FPL to come out and announce him cheaper than we expect. I think that he's going to be 10 million. I've seen a lot of 9 and 9.5s, but I think with 10 million, he still comes in cheaper than Aubameyang, and I think that's enough to kind of make people question whether to bring him in. I think if he's 9 million, that's a bargain price and someone to definitely consider, but I think that my bet is personally on 10 million, but I'm seeing a lot of 9.5s in the chat. And we have a couple of 8.5s, which I think 8.5 is a little bit too cheap. As I said, the FPL team is always optimistic, and they always kind of price us a little bit out of the players we want. So I think that he's going to come in quite expensive. Bree is saying 9 out of his 22 goals were penalties, but I think that he did win all 9 of them. So in FPL, they would transfer to assists, which is quite profitable. I think Lucas is asking me if he's a midfielder or forward. I think he's going to be classified as a midfielder, as we already have quite a few Arsenal forwards, and I think that it's going to be a little bit ridiculous if they bring in another one. But that being said, we never kind of know what FPL is going to do, and they could surprise us. Yash saying Chris Wood has scored 9 goals in the preseason, 2 hat-tricks. I know what you're talking about. I've been monitoring him. I just think that maybe if I was to go for a Burnley attacker, probably Barnes, as I think Barnes is a little bit more favored. But Chris Wood is having a stellar preseason and definitely one to keep our eye on. Comes in, I think, at 6 million if I'm not mistaken. Okay, 6.5, so kind of falls that budget forward position with players like King and Jota. So could go for him. Burnley's fixtures are defensively quite good, so attackingly they should be able to do well. But as I said, I always am a little bit questionable about getting a Burnley attacker. It almost doesn't feel right. Mustafi is linked to Valencia. I actually saw quite a hilarious video of Arsenal fans' reactions if Mustafi was to get sold. So I'm sure that there are a couple Arsenal fans in here that probably will be quite happy if Mustafi does get transferred out. Can a Burnley defender, example Taylor, be kept? I don't really know what you're saying with that. I think you're asking maybe if you should bring them in your team, and I think that that's a viable option. I'm just simply going for the Burnley keepers, as that will probably be a better option in my opinion than in their defense, as I'm not really that sure about who's going to be rotated in that defense. Will Pepe play the first game week? This is another addition to that whole conversation. I personally have not really seen a player that's been transferred this close to the start to kind of play. So I don't really know what Emery's managerial style, but I think that Pepe has kind of just come back from the African Cup of Nations. He's just come back from his holiday, so I'm questioning whether he's going to be involved in game week 1. I think that there might be a little bit of time given to him to integrate him into that Arsenal squad, and then we can kind of see how he fits in. I think it's more of a wait and see on the Pepe transfer. Obviously, if he comes in massively undervalued than we are expecting and lots of people bring him in, then you could probably go for him and take a little bit of a punt, but otherwise it's probably a wait and see. Opinions on Kennedy for Chelsea because he's had a sensational preseason. Also, do you think Emerson will start over Marcus Alonso? So I don't really follow Chelsea that much, but I do believe that Frank Lampard kind of said that he is the first choice, and I think that maybe Emerson's a little bit more defensively sound than Marcus Alonso. So I could see Emerson winning that spot, and then that kind of opens it up for us with our Chelsea kind of defender picks. But I'm kind of going to probably wait and see for their final preseason game, and then we'll probably get a better indication. With Barkley in that Chelsea squad, I think that he's probably cheap enough to take a punt on, so you could bring him in instead of the likes of maybe Perez, or bring him in as a kind of bench player, but he seems to be getting into really good positions, and that's something for FPL that's really good. So I'm going to answer this Calvert-Lewin and Keane. So I think that I saw something that I'm going to just call him Kian. I'm sorry if that's not the correct pronunciation. Yes, check me tonight. I can't even talk. So with Kian, apparently he rejected some other clubs because they couldn't guarantee first-team football. This could just be a rumor, but I think that if that is true, then it shows that Everton have basically guaranteed him a starting position. And I can see that kind of being true as he is quite young. So you could go for him. A couple of people saying Keane. So if you're keen for Keane, you should get him in. So you could go for him, and he should be a great option. Also, I mean, Everton have some very good fixtures, so you could kind of go for him and take a little bit of a punt on him. I don't think that they've announced his price yet, so hopefully he doesn't come in too expensive, and then he's definitely one to watch for the future. Will Pope start instead of Hart when he comes back? I do think that Pope will be the first choice, but he does have a little bit of a niggling injury, so it's a little bit of a wait and see, but we should be getting all this information before we start the FPL season. We're going to have some press conferences to go over and some preseason to go over as well. So yeah. How much do you think Keane will cost? I think that he probably will be around 7 million. I think Calvert-Lewin is rated at 6 mil, so I think that he'll probably come in about 7. 7 is probably a safe bet for him. Hey Dayvy, how's it? Kieran, you can't decide between Jota and Deulofeu. I think that you probably start off with Deulofeu, as Jota has some tough fixtures with Wolves, and then we can kind of go on from that and then make our transfers once Wolves get into the run of the fixtures. Okay, price revealed 5.5 for Keane. Is that 100% correct? Let me just refresh the page, and then we can kind of probably get some. Okay, I don't know if maybe the Twitch chat is trolling me or something, but okay. So some are saying 5.5, some are saying 6. So if he's either of those prices, that is quite cheap, personally. So Hardik, yes, that's what I was saying. It's a bit confusing with Michael Keane and then this new striker Keane, and as they both play for Everton. So that's why I was like, maybe I should go pronounce him Kian or something like that. Bomb saying Hala, the new record signing for West Ham. He scored in preseason, so he's definitely going to be the first choice striker at West Ham. So it's kind of just going to be interesting to see how West Ham get off to the start of it. I think if you want to take a major differential punt, then you could go for him, but I think there's probably safer options there. And then Callum's asking if I'm streaming on Twitch. I'm not streaming on Twitch, I'm streaming on YouTube. It's something that I was thinking about, maybe Twitch, but I think that the community I have over here on YouTube is a little bit bigger. So I think that a lot of people would probably just prefer me to stream on YouTube, but if you would prefer me to stream on Twitch, I can look into that. Kieran saying, you might have said already, but why Hart, not Matt Ryan? I just kind of trust the Burnley defense a little bit more. I don't know if Hart or Pope is going to start, but I probably will have one of them in come game week 1. I just put him in here as Pope has a little bit of a knock, so I'm just putting Hart in so long. And then Game X asking, why do you have Pogba in your team? I have him in my team because I just needed an 8.5. I did a draft at the beginning of the stream where I kind of just wanted to complete the squad. So Pogba came in at 8.5, so that's why I got him. Notorious Nerd, welcome to the stream. Nice to have you. Asking, who is the most nailed 4.5 Burnley defender? Let's go on to the Burnley defenders and just, hopefully I'm not missing anyone out. So I personally would go for Taylor, but with Peters being signed for them, it's a little bit tough to know who's going to be going for them. One person you can probably ask is Steve-O from Elite FPL. I know he's a Burnley fan, so he can probably tell you. I would personally think that Taylor is, as last season he was nailed for the entire season, basically. Played 3,240 minutes, so if he's not injured, he plays, in my opinion. Then we have a £1 donation from Kartik. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Apologies if I butchered it. But thanks so much for the £1 super chat. I really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy the stream. Elliot saying, is Target a good option? Obviously just being transferred to Aston Villa. Last season I even had him in my team at Southampton. I'm hoping that he has a good season, and I think that personally, with the Aston Villa defense, I'm not a little bit unsure about it. The one player that I'm kind of might be looking at is this player. Gilbert, I think that's how you say it. Apparently, he's this season's Doherty, so someone that we could look at for potential clean sheets. And Aston Villa do have quite nice fixtures in between these kind of Spurs, Arsenal, and Man City run. So definitely someone that I would take a punt on, and someone that I've seen lots of people taking a punt on is Wesley, the Aston Villa forward. So you could go for him and then kind of just take a little bit of a differential, as I don't think many people are going to be taking options from these newly promoted sides. So definitely someone to kind of keep your eye on. And then we have Liam Ball telling us that Gilbert has been incredible preseason. So you've heard it from Liam. Apparently, Gilbert is looking sharp, and that is the same thing that I've been hearing. I've been hearing that he's very attacking and should offer quite a lot of points. Then we have Dalipool saying, Dayvy, what do you think of Ross Barkley on pens with Jorginho on the pit when Jorginho is not on the pit, or is he on the pitch? I think that he did take a penalty. I think that Barkley's cheap enough to take a punt, so I would kind of just go for him as maybe a little bit of a punt if you don't know who to go for. But personally, I think if you can stretch that 0.5 mil a little bit more, you could go for someone like Perez or Tillemans, who I think will probably offer you a little less of a rotation risk and some more points. And then we have Capkin Gaming saying, Dayvy, when is our next video, bro? Whenever you want to make a video, I'll be keen. I had a tremendous amount of fun recording that first video for you. And the thing is with Capkin, you'll always be my first feature that I was on. So I owe it all to you, Cap. So next we're going to go on to some other questions. KDB and Kane or KDB and Sterling? That is a tough one to answer, as I think that Kane is going to have a stellar season, personally. I think that he's going to have a 20-plus goal season, and that is quite annoying because, as you can see in my team, I can only fit kind of 2 premium options without kind of a budget restriction in defense. So it's kind of hard to fit Kane in, but I think that Kane's definitely one to take a punt on. However, I do think that it's not worth taking a punt over Sterling. I think that I would try and get, instead of saying KDB and Sterling, maybe Sterling and Kane if you can stretch the budget. But I think that it's not worth downgrading Sterling just to get Kane. I hope that helps. Tottenham defense being overlooked. Walker-Peters, I do think they could be, but you must remember that the Spurs defense last season was definitely not up to scratch of their usual standards. As you can see here, they have some nice fixtures, and I think it could be worth a punt on, as they are quite cheap. Walker-Peters though is the one that's being talked about as Foyth went off injured last night against Bayern Munich. So Walker-Peters seems like he's going to be nailed down in that fullback spot. So you could opt for him. He comes in at 5 million as well. The thing with me is I know that you don't have to look that much into the future when trying to make your squads. But I just personally think that with Kyle Walker-Peters, he could potentially lose his spot within a month or so on in the season. And I'm already taking a little bit of a punt with Zinchenko, as Mendy could come back in that slot. So I'm kind of thinking about maybe my punt play is going to be Zinchenko, even though he should be nailed for the first month, but afterwards I can transfer him out for someone else. So, as Daniel says, yes, they won the Audi Cup. Yes, they beat Bayern Munich on penalties. So that's a great win for them, and hopefully a confidence booster for Spurs. Evil Monarch is asking me why Aspi over Emerson. I just have Aspi in this draft as he's a little bit more nailed, and I kind of want assurance that Emerson is going to be starting in that fullback spot before I bring him in. And I don't kind of want it to be a thing where Emerson plays one week and then Alonso plays the next. Neil's asking what you think, Pulisic and Zaha or Perez and Siggy. I'd probably go for Perez and Siggy, as they just 2 nailed players that have performed in the Premier League, so I would go for them. And with Zaha, there's just a little bit of concern over his transfer, so we don't even know where he's going to be ending up. Why Aspi over Man City or Liverpool defender? Henrik asks, personally, I just don't know if I'm brave enough to double up on a defense. I think that Aspi is cheaper than other Liverpool options, so maybe that's why. But I just like to kind of give a little bit of an overall spread team than kind of committing too much to one team especially. Now that's probably kind of contradicting myself, as last season I started off with Mane and Salah in my squad, so maybe a little bit of supporter bias there. But I've just kind of wanted to give a little bit of variation as to what the other drafts that I've kind of been doing. Lawrence asks, is having both Salah and Sterling essential? Look, I'm not going to tell you any player is essential, but I'd recommend you have at least one of those players. I do think that having probably like Sterling at the start, I think that Sterling's going to get off to a really good start, as Man City have been looking quite hot in preseason. So I think that I'd probably start off with Sterling. However, with Salah, because he's so expensive, you can kind of keep him for these starting fixtures, as that Norwich fixtures is kind of too hard to ignore. And then once he hits this kind of rough form here, you can transfer him out if need be. So I just want to go up in a chat as I saw a couple. So Aaron Wan-Bissaka versus Azpilicueta. Now this is something that's been interesting for me, as I know that Wan-Bissaka is currently massively owned, 35%, and I've seen him steadily increasing in a lot of our community's drafts. And I'm not going to say it's surprising, but I'm a little bit, I don't really have an explanation for why it's happening. I think that Wan-Bissaka is a great player, but I think you have to kind of have a couple clean sheets that you can kind of see. And if Man United sign Maguire, it changes the decision completely. But I think I just don't trust the Man United defense enough to commit 5.5 million to one of their players. You could bring in a player like Zinchenko or Emerson or someone like that instead of him. That probably could bring you a couple more clean sheets. But if you want to go for a punt, I think probably it's down to a lot of people are Man United fans, so maybe they want to have a Man United player, and I can completely respect that. If that increases your experience of FPL, then go for it. But unless United sign another centre-back, I don't think that I'd be looking at Wan-Bissaka, as he's not he does attack, and he attacks very well. Had some of the best take on stats and dribbling stats last season, but I think that he probably will be needed a little bit more in defense than attack, and that's why I'm not totally on board with him right now, but I could shift to him maybe if they sign Maguire, but right now I think that there are better defensive options out there. I say that having Lucas Digne in my team, who has conceded a quadrillion goals in preseason, so just take what I say a little bit pinch of salt, I think. So yes, probably Jason from Elite FPL, but to be fair, it could probably be anyone from Elite FPL saying that, in brackets me, as I've seen them have Wan-Bissaka in their squads as well, so hopefully I haven't swayed you too much there. Callum, I'm a Chelsea fan and I'd prefer Wan-Bissaka over Aspi. Again, that's personal opinion, I guess. I think that if we just look at like last season, I think that Aspi is just quite solid in defense, and I think that they'll probably have to shore up the defense a little bit without having brought in a replacement for Hazard. I think they're going to be had to be a little bit more defensively sound, as I don't think they'll be scoring as many goals in these games. So if Aspi does start at fullback, I think that changes it as well, as then I'd probably be looking at him even more. But as I said, this is just kind of a thing that kind of a draft that I've put together at the start of the video to kind of help you guys through with making a draft if you guys are struggling a little bit. Game X saying, which fan league would have least number of managers? I think last season was Huddersfield, if I remember correctly, but this season will probably be one of the promoted sides, as they don't really have that much exposure to the rest of the world. And you must remember that FPL is a global game, so you could have players from countries like India and continents like Africa who probably sway the supporter vote quite a bit. So then in chat, God666 is saying Perez plays out of position. Yes, I'm hoping that he continues to play out of position and plays a front two with Vardy up front, as I think they could play quite well off each other. Carl Tiley saying, hi Dayvy, keep up the great work with the vids. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Worst. Okay. I thought you were asking me to name the worst 6.5 striker, but Evil Monarch is saying Delafeu is a trap. Worst 6.5 striker. Kartik saying Dayvy FPL thoughts. Ryan, Digne, Robertson, Laporte, Van Dijk, Fraser, Salah, Sterling, Madison, King, and Delafeu. That looks like a pretty solid draft. It looks, I've seen quite a couple drafts that are similar to that. Overall, I don't know if there's much I would change. I think that you kind of have gone for a very safe defense, so that could be quite useful. You've gone for Madison, which I think he could still have a good season. I think, though, if Perez is playing out of position up front, I think you kind of have to go for him as he is a little bit cheaper. And then if you kind of if you set on Lucas Digne, or if you want to downgrade him to Coleman, you could maybe try and squeeze some money out there and do a King to Wilson or Delafeu to Wilson. But otherwise, it looks pretty solid. I like the punt on Fraser as your Bournemouth option, so I can understand you kind of going for Fraser and King instead of King and Wilson. So I can understand that decision. But overall, it looks like a solid team and a very sturdy defense. So your defense should be getting quite a lot of points. Capkin's asking me, when are you thinking to use the first wild card? I'm thinking around game week 8 might be the best option. So let's look at Liverpool's fixtures, because this is probably. Yeah, so I think game week 8 looks like a sensible option, but I'm always an advocate for you can't really plan when you're going to be using your wild card. I'm sure a lot of you who have been following me since last season know that I used my wild card, I think, on game week 18 just because I had to, because it was expiring at the end of the December period. So I think if your team's doing well, you can go for it. But I think game week 8 is probably a sensible option, as Liverpool's fixtures do turn a little bit, and game week 8 is not like game week 4. I know through last season a couple of people were saying, you should use the wild card. They're going to plan their teams to use their wild card in game week 4. So that's a little bit too soon, in my opinion, to use your wild card. But game week 8 looks like a sensible option there. Now, if we go to some more questions here from you guys. Kartik saying, why Aspi with the tough first fixture? He has a tough first fixture, but he's got a very nice run till about game week 12 here. So I don't really want to put him off just because of a bad starting fixture, as then I'm going to waste a transfer bringing him in. And I kind of, at the start of the season, you kind of want to save your transfers a little bit so that you can use them if there are injuries, or maybe a player that you like isn't performing that well. Chaban saying, hey, Dayvy, how's it? Blair asking best goalkeeper to get. It's quite an ambiguous question there, as it depends on your budget constraints. But if I had to go for probably a cheap keeper, you probably can go for Fabianski as a set and forget, as he always gets those save points, and he's a little bit more premium at 5 mil, but you could go for him. Another option is Lloris if you want to go for a kind of more premium option. I think that Spurs' fixtures are quite nice, and it's also nice to not have the rotation of their back four. You can kind of go for a safe option of Lloris. Then Brandon Horn asking, if Dybala gets picked up, would he be viable? Now, if Dybala does get picked up by Man United, that'll be quite a crazy signing in my opinion. And I've always been a fan of Dybala, especially when he's been playing in like Champions League and that kind of thing. So it'll probably be quite tempting for me to bring him in. So I think that if he does come in at a good price, then I probably would certainly bring him in. I think that if United do the business that they set out to do, with the likes of Maguire, Bruno Fernandes, and Dybala, that is going to be an insane transfer window, and I think that's going to be quite successful for them. Cheers, Capkin. I hope you've enjoyed the portion of the live stream that you have been watching, and we'll catch up soon, definitely. Cheers. Kartik saying your previous draft had Ryan. Why switch to Hart? I just put Ryan there as I think Ryan and a Burnley keeper are both viable options. I just wanted to kind of switch up the draft a little bit as I didn't want it to get a little bit too stale. So that's why I went for Ryan. You can kind of go for either. In my opinion, the Burnley keepers are a little bit better than the Brighton keeper. So I'd go for him. What do you think of Sterling and KDB? Sterling is, if I had to say a player that is almost essential, I would probably say Sterling. With KDB, I think that if you can have him in your squad, a great option. But I think that out of all the options from Man City, I'd probably go for Sterling. We have a couple of congratulations here from Oliver. Thanks, Oliver. He says congratulations on the 9K. Could you please drop Pogba to Sigurdsson and then upgrade keeper to Fabianski? I will do that now for you. Barry Coleman saying congratulations on your last year's finish. What overall rank would you be satisfied with this year? It's a little bit hard to say, as I probably definitely won't be predicted. I can't talk tonight. I definitely won't be finishing as high as 22nd. I'd probably really aim for top 1K. That'll be insane. But top 10K, I think, will be a very good finish, in my opinion. So I'm kind of, especially with kind of the whole YouTube thing, and if I'm going to be posting my team out every week and whatever, I think that it might be a little bit tough to finish like very high up in the season. So I'm just kind of hoping for whatever happens. So let's do this for Oliver, since he asked so nicely. Bring in Siggy. So this is another variation. These are the things that are so nice with drafts, is you can kind of just go for whatever you want. Brandon Horn saying always humble. Hopefully that's not sarcastic. I don't want to come across as being cocky or overconfident, so I apologize if I did. Edison in goal, Caden. I think that the only reason you'll have Edison in goal is that you're worried about rotation with the Man City defense. But otherwise, I can't really justify having Edison over an outplaying Man City player like Walker per se. Okay, thanks. Monarch's backing Brandon up there saying it's not sarcastic. It's really humble. So I appreciate that. Tazzy saying this Oak is an absolute lad. I appreciate that. I think that is a compliment. So thanks a lot, Tazzy. I appreciate it. Thoughts on best 6.5 forward, rank top 3, please. So let's go here and rank the top, because I think this is probably quite a sought after kind of price point, and I definitely will be making my next video. If you haven't watched my latest video, FPL Midfielders, so the next chronologically in order is going to be the best FPL Forwards. So this is probably a little bit of a preview to that. I think that King is probably the best. I think Jota is the next, and then I would go for one of Burnley defenders of Wood or Barnes. So that's going to be my my kind of predictions. Omkar saying one of the very few Liverpool fans I really like. Great guy, top advice. I appreciate it. I'm sorry if maybe the supporter bias comes through a little bit, but I try to be as diplomatic as possible, so I appreciate that. Omkar, I appreciate that comment. Saint saying congratulations, thanks a lot, Saint. And then saying thoughts on Adams Southampton. So Che Adams is a new signing from the Championship for Southampton, and personally I think that he could be a great option. He looks like he's absolutely nailed in that Southampton lineup. He's been playing basically every preseason game, if I'm correct, and he's been scoring as well. So a young, vibrant forward that I think Southampton desperately needed. So that's something that we probably will keep our eye on. I just think that these are probably talking points that we're going to get into late in the season. I think a lot of us are going to be playing quite safe, and then from when we get onto the season, we're going to kind of take some differentials and vary a little bit from the normal drafts that a lot of us, or the templates that a lot of us are going for. Elliot saying 6 million best midfielder. Let's go here. 6 million best midfielder. In my video for midfielders, I mentioned Townsend, as I think if Zaha leaves, although it probably will impact his overall points or overall getting forward, I think that Townsend's probably the main man for Crystal Palace, even with Zaha there. Townsend plays quite well and quite forward now. Managed 6 goals, 5 assists last season. The only thing is the Crystal Palace fixtures aren't the best. So if you're looking for a 6 million midfielder that you can kind of rotate quite easily, I would go for him. Otherwise, I think the one that I covered in the video was Buendia, the Norwich man. I think you're probably definitely not playing him for the Liverpool fixture. But then he has a couple nice fixtures in between here that you could play him in. But again, that's probably a rotation risk. So then if you kind of just want to go for a guy that you can almost trust a little bit, it's probably going to be someone like Roberto Pereira. So you could go for him or whatever. Callum saying petition to make Dayvy get a face cam. I literally asked on the last video, I think of last season, I asked you guys to answer a poll where I asked, is a face cam essential? And 60% of you, no, actually more than that, I think 70% of you said that it's not essential. So I'm fine with not having a face cam. If it's something that everyone really wants, I can do it. But I just don't really see the need for like FPL videos, if you know what I'm saying. I think there was another comment here about the face. Yeah, Ashwin also asking for the face cam, so maybe it's something in demand. But definitely when we get to 5 million subscribers, I'll get a face cam. Callum saying opinions on 5 at the back this season because I'm risking it this year. As I said in my 5 at the back draft, to me it's probably one of the most fun ways of playing FPL. For example, it just seems like an out there strategy, and lots of people having fun selecting their 5 at the back, and I almost want to jump in on that fun, but I just think that I'm lacking a little bit of courage in that department to commit to the 5 at the back. A couple of people asking me for my Instagram handle. I don't have an Instagram, so I could make one for the FPL, but otherwise I don't have one. I know it's quite a popular social media, and I know some of the other FPL YouTubers and people that make content are on Instagram. So I just think that between YouTube and Twitter, it's kind of enough social media, as I think you guys would get a little bit sick of my content if I was to have an Instagram as well. Okay, a couple of questions on Barkley. I did answer it earlier in the video, but to me, it seems like he's cheap enough to take a punt on if you want to go for him. But so you could go for him as a little bit of a punt, but otherwise, I don't know how guaranteed his minutes are. But it seems like under Frank Lampard, he's favored a little bit. So then Jonah OG Theo is asking Salah and Van Dijk or Sterling and Trent. Sterling and Trent. Blair, double Man City and double Liverpool defense, good idea. I think if your double Liverpool defense is Trent and Robbo, that's fine. I just don't know about another one of the centre-backs, as that's a little bit risky. And with Man City, I would probably trust Zinchenko and Laporte, or you can go for Walker as a cheap alternative. Buddy, is Sterling and Salah a must? I don't think they're a must, but I definitely would recommend having one of them. Probably having both would be a good idea to start off the season with, as I think they're a little bit hard to bring back in as they're quite expensive. So probably go for both of them. Then we have another. Is Perez a starter? Only played 30% of preseason games. I think that was because he had a little bit of a knock, if I'm correct. He had a little bit of an ankle knock, I think. I think he tweeted himself that he was fine. So it looks not too serious, and it seems that Brendan Rodgers favors him quite a lot and thinks he's going to do quite well this season. So you could kind of go for Perez. The main person you kind of want to go for, as Joe Taylor is saying, there's Jamie Vardy. 9 million is cheap, but more expensive than the other Leicester options. So I just can't really squeeze my budget as much. Devon Little saying, aware, Dayvy, how's it, bro? Preseason, a little meaningless, surely only good for lineup predictions and not selecting form players. 100%, I think that we can't look into preseason that much, but I do believe that players with form in preseason will probably start the season, as I think unless they are an 18-year-old youth player, the manager probably won't be that blind to that. So managers surely play the person that's scoring the goals. Perez had also played in Copa America, he had, but I think they came in a lot earlier than other international competitions, so that shouldn't really be that much of a problem. And I think there's probably a lot of these teams have one more preseason game to go. So that's something to keep your eye on. Obviously, there's the Community Shield this Sunday that we are probably all going to be looking forward to. But as we kind of thought that we would be getting a lot of confirmation of our drafts, but it looks like Laporte's going to be missing through a knock. A lot of the Liverpool players are going to be missing due to coming back recently from holiday. So I don't know if it's going to be provide that much of a confirmation that all of us are hoping for. Paresh, how's it? Are you good? Mo Mane saying, hi Dayvy, what price you reckon Nicholas Pepe will be? I said 10 million, as I think he's going to be quite expensive. Kartik saying, are we all overlooking Aguero? And Caden Fernandez also asking Aguero. And Sadyam asking Aguero. So I think Aguero, personally, this is what I think about Aguero. I think that because he's getting a little bit older in age, I think that Jesus is going to come back and play a lot more minutes than he did last season. And that kind of worries me a little bit. Even last season, we saw Aguero with the 60-minute appearances and that kind of thing. So I think that I would probably go for Sterling rather than, say, Aguero. But I think that if you want to kind of go for a differential, then go for Aguero. I think that he'll probably be owned quite well in the casual kind of, with the casual players. So you could go for him. Pope or Ryan or Heaton. One player that I do like is Heaton, just because of their very nice fixtures here. They have some very nice fixtures in between here, so there's a strong argument for him. I just don't know if I trust the Aston Villa defense that much. However, they have made a lot more signings with Tyrone Mings and Matt Targett, so they could shore up a little bit and prove us wrong here. So Heaton is definitely someone that's on my watch list. Pookie from Norwich, the goal scorer in the championship last season. I think if you want to take a punt, go for him. So you could kind of go for him. Devon Little's asking me EPL champion for the season. Probably going for Man City. That's just me personally. But I might do a prediction video for the upcoming season, but I don't know if you guys would like that. I know that the general Premier League videos aren't the most popular amongst my community, so let me know if you want to see kind of a prediction video for the upcoming season, but otherwise I'll probably stick to the FPL. I have a feeling Martial could be gold. Jasper is asking that. I do think that it looks like he's playing out of position now as that centre forward for Man United, and Man United don't have the worst fixtures in the world, so someone to probably keep an eye on. And personally, I'm a little bit burnt by Martial in previous seasons, so I'll probably stay clear of him for the start, but someone that I'd bring in later on once he gets form, as he's kind of a player that blows a little bit hot and cold, in my opinion. So we can always kind of pick him up once he starts getting a couple goals, whether that be against Chelsea at home, who knows, but I'm sure that we kind of going to go on from there. Jason saying, don't know if I want Jimenez or Rashford. I would probably hold off on Jimenez for the foreseeable fixtures, as their fixtures aren't that great starting off. I think if Wolves kind of get into a nice run of form after game week 5 is an almost perfect time to bring them in, as then their fixtures turn a little bit more green, and the grass is looking a little bit greener on the other side then. J Ham, what team do you think will be that wild card and do really well? So you're probably referring to like the team that Wolves were. I think that the team that's probably going to do well this season, I want to kind of say like Leicester, but I think that's probably a general team that's going to do well. So I think that Aston Villa will stay up. Let's just put it that way. So I think that Aston Villa will probably be that surprise team. Tay Lunatic in the chat again. Quite a while since I talked to you last, so welcome to the stream. Thanks a lot for joining us. If you don't know Te Lunatic, he was the first donator of the stream, so a little bit of a history fact there for you. So welcome, Te Lunatic. What do you think of Gundogan? 5.5 million. I think that I'd probably steer a little bit away from him, just because I think that the midfield for Man City will probably be maybe Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, and this new player that they signed, Fernandinho, or they've signed him. I sometimes forget his name. I'll find it here for you. Rodrigo. So he will probably play instead of Fernandinho as that CDM. So I think that that's kind of their middle three set. Hasib saying, is 4 at the back the way this year? I can't exactly predict that, but I do think that it's probably looking quite good for a lot of defenders in our squads. They seem to be quite consistent, and that's exactly what we want for FPL. So currently I'm probably looking at 4 at the back, and those 4 players being premium options. Will you show your final draft? I will show my final draft. I'm kind of just waiting for the preseason games to get finished, and the Community Shield to be finished, and that type of thing. But I will be showing my final draft, definitely. Bernardo Silva sometimes plays as a winger, though. He sometimes does, but it's tough to predict the Man City lineup. So you can probably fill in any other midfielder, and I think Gundogan will probably rotate a little bit with the other midfielders. So I personally wouldn't recommend Gundogan, even though he might have a good season. Chelsea defense with Lamps may be a big risk. I have heard that Lampard is a more attacking manager than defense, so something to definitely look at. When I do my final draft. Michael Bryant saying, when do you think they will add Pepe to FPL? Probably tomorrow, or it's actually probably going to be tomorrow, like a Friday, a good feeling Friday announcement or whatever. Best 4.5 defender. I have covered 4.5 defenders in my best defender video, so go watch that if you want. I think I probably recommended Taylor in that one, as I think Burnley will have quite a good season defensively. Joe Taylor saying, Jota with an assist tonight. If Wolves score, he is likely to be involved. I completely agree with that. Good option at 6.5. A good option, but I think that the fixtures are a little bit rough for him. I'm always kind of a more fixture over form kind of guy, so I probably would steer a little bit away from him. Sunil saying, hi Dayvy, congratulations on your 9k. Thanks a lot, Sunil. So why is nobody talking about Edison? Performs against top teams as well. I think that he just forms a little bit of a tough price bracket there, 9 million. I think people are prepared to kind of extend that a little bit to the 9.5 for KDB. So I think that with Eriksen, we kind of don't know if he's going to drop, but I know that they've signed I think a CDM in Ndombele, I think, who should probably push Eriksen a lot forward. So that's optimistic for if you do have Eriksen in your squad. Hashib saying Pepe going to be 10 more. That's what I said, my prediction as well. Berhard saying Pogba is better than Eriksen. Probably, I think Pogba's a little bit more involved with that the Man United attack than probably Eriksen with the Spurs attack. Lucas Moura overlooked, no Son till late August, Devon Little asks. So that's potentially, I know some people are opting for Lucas Moura. I just think, like Martial, he blows a little bit hot and cold sometimes. And I think if you're going to be going for a Spurs option, you're probably going to be wanting to go for Kane. But if you want a cheap alternative and kind of don't have your eyes on anyone else in that price bracket, you probably could go for Lucas Moura. Saw516 says, Ollie Norwood on most set pieces and looks like pens now too. Good choice at 5 million. He could be. I don't really know that much about the promoted sides, unfortunately, so I apologize for that. But I think that I would be very careful taking a punt on a newly promoted squad, and also when you kind of look here, their fixtures aren't that great. So if you're a fan of Sheffield United and want to go for him, then go for it. Paresh saying Wesley at Aston Villa looks good. Seen him in quite a lot of drafts, so does look good. Looks like he's going to have a good season. Potentially a punt to take. FPL Penguin saying, hey, congrats on reaching 9k subs mark. You are so close to 10k. Thanks, Penguin. Yeah, it's probably a little bit weird doing a 9k celebration so late on, but unfortunately this is the only time I've been able to do it. But what's probably the best news for you is that the 10k Q&A or the 10k celebration will probably be quite soon then, if the subs start or keep on flowing in, kind of. Callum saying downgrade Digne to Coleman and upgrade C to Pogba. It's a little bit of a tough one there. It looks good on paper, but I don't know if it potentially has that grade. I think that it looks good to me, so if you kind of want to go for that, you can probably go for that. TSM Dowler saying, what about Sadio Mane? So Sadio Mane is coming back to training, I think, this week, so or next week. Sorry, I forgot this is Thursday. So he probably will miss the start of the season, so you probably don't really want to go for Mane just yet. Could go for him later on in the season. Seamus Coleman gets in the bench, cheaper and better option than Digne. Definitely, I think that Coleman had some very great stats towards the end of the season, so you probably could go for him as a cheap alternative. But the thing about Lucas Digne is that he is on a lot of set pieces and even on some direct free kicks, so could be a little bit of a better option there. Steve-O saying, evening Dayvy, nice for me to sit back and watch you live instead. Thanks a lot, Steve-O. Hope you enjoy the stream. I said to Boona earlier that it's he's probably having quite a lonely night there without the FPL elite FPL boys streaming tonight and keeping him busy. So I hope you guys enjoy and relax and take in all the hard work that you guys have been doing. Jeff saying Siggy to Fraser. Personally, I don't know if I would do that, just mainly because I favor the Bournemouth forwards a little bit. But you could go for that if you want to get some more budget kind of spread in there. Bonson saying, everyone smash a like for Dayvy. I'll cheers to that. Thanks a lot, Bonson. I appreciate any likes on the stream. I don't know if the likes stay there when this video gets uploaded. So, but any likes are appreciated and any subscribes as well. So thanks, guys. Historia Kenya saying, any love for Aubameyang? Now, Aubameyang, I think, is personally probably the most overlooked player in the FPL community. I think that he's going to have another very good season, and especially with the likes of Pepe being added, I think that only increases the chances of kind of attacking threats from Aubameyang and Lacazette. It's going to be interesting to see how they play, because historically, Lacazette has played up front with Aubameyang on the wing, but I always kind of prefer Aubameyang in that center forward position. So I'm hoping that he stays there, and it does look like that Lacazette injury wasn't too bad, so Laka should be back there as well, which probably means that Aubameyang gets shifted to the wing. We also have Jason from Elite FPL saying, glad to see you streaming, so thanks, Jason. And then mentions Greenwood brace versus Chelsea, guys. That's a little bit of a prediction there, so you probably should take a bet on that one. Probably can make a couple of grand there. Fantasy Football Focus. Pepe is in my team as soon as he is announced on FPL. What price do you think he will be at, Fantasy Football Focus? Justin saying Heats and Henderson rotation looks good. No top 6 all season. Something I mentioned at the start of the video as well. An interesting kind of concept to go about. The only thing about that rotation is that there's quite a lot of away fixtures in that for like a cheap keeper. You want your keepers to play quite a few home fixtures if you're going to be rotating them. So you think it's going to be 8 million Fantasy Football Focus? I think he's going to be more like 10 million. So we'll see who's right on that one. TSM Dowler, what about N'Golo Kante? TSM Dowler, I want you to right now click off the stream and go watch my second previous video. It's called Top 5 Beginner Tips. I talk about N'Golo Kante a lot in that video, so that's probably better than me explaining to you now. So the next question is from Amir saying, are you locked in on Wilson and King? It's something that I've probably locked in on. I just think that the thought of when Bournemouth win a penalty, not having to worry about who takes it is kind of ideal for me, as I've kind of had a lot of headaches in the past of bringing in Wilson and then King gets a hat-trick, and then bringing in King and then Wilson gets a hat-trick. So why not just own them both? Okay, so you say he should be 10 mil, but I think they will ease him in at 8 mil. I just personally think that the FPL team is always super optimistic, and they always rate players higher when we want them in. So I don't know if they will bring him in at 8 million. Then Hendrik Sneyman says, also, let's go Joel in Stellies. I'd have to fly to Stellies then, because I go to a rival university. But nice to know that there are other South Africans in the chat. Devin Little says, we need a prize for the best FPL team name. Okay, that sounds quite good, but I don't know what the prize would be. This is my team name. It is Vati Klop, so hopefully a couple of South Africans would understand that reference. But otherwise, it basically just means have a nice day in a South African language. Alba not on the radar. Also, you're considering Barkley. Okay, so Alba, I think that is definitely on my radar, but I just don't know if I'd be going for him. Michael Bryan saying big up South Africans. Nice to know there are fellow South Africans in this chat. However, there are people from all around the world, which is so amazing for me that this kind of content reaches all corners of the globe. Peaky Blinders, I've kind of seen that name though, so probably a little bit not that original, but it is a good name, I have to say. Liam Tucker, do you think Patrick Catron starts? Look, it's a tough one, because I think that you almost want to think that they wouldn't have signed him if there wasn't a reason for it. So he could go into that lineup, but I just think that they had too much of a good thing there with Jota and Jimenez up front. So I don't think that he'll be probably the starting striker, but he definitely could be a rotation risk there. Ronald saying shout out from Zim, good stuff. That's great to have another player from a neighboring country. So nice to have you in here, Ronald. Mason Mount or Barkley. I think you probably would maybe go for Mason Mount. He's a little bit more attacking, but I think that minutes are probably the worry there for you. I know that Frank Lampard will play a lot more youth players, but I just don't know if it's going to be that many more minutes for the young Chelsea player. So you probably would go for Barkley in that one, just because of kind of the guarantee of minutes. Mohammed saying Chicharito from game week 2. I'm probably going to be steering away from Chicharito, as with Hala coming in as their record signing, he's probably going to be the number one choice there, and I don't think he's going to be playing that much minutes, that being Chicharito. Callum says, Dayvy, my dad says hi to Mr. Highland. How are you doing? 352. Mo Mane's just putting that formation out there. Jason asking, apologies if you've covered it, but have you looked at Barkley? I have looked at Barkley for quite a couple of questions here, Jason, but I will answer it out of courtesy. So I think with Barkley, he's cheap enough to probably take a punt on that £6 million pound mark. Probably can be a rotating midfielder or come in as a cheap alternative if you kind of stretch your budget a little bit with the premium options. One of the players I really liked from Chelsea was Loftus-Cheek. So you're kind of just replacing Loftus-Cheek with Barkley, as I think Loftus-Cheek's a little bit more injury prone. But Barkley, definitely someone I'm keeping my eye on. And obviously as a kind of Liverpool fan, I'm not that happy with Barkley after going from Everton to Chelsea or whatever. But I think that he could prove a great option, and I always remember him being very attacking, and I think that Frank Lampard is going to play a very attacking style, so definitely Barkley's one to keep an eye on. I just think that I would be willing to stretch my budget a little bit from Barkley to a player like Perez, who I think will probably get a little bit more assists. And then I think on screen I saw that we had a donation from Amir K. $5 donation there. Thanks for the quality content. I really appreciate it, Amir. Thanks for subscribing and supporting the channel, and I've hoped you've enjoyed this second live stream that we've been going through. Sterling or Salah as captain, probably assuming from game week for the game week 1 captaincy. So I think that I'll probably be going with Salah, as I think that Norwich fixture is just a little bit too hard to ignore. But Sterling's also a great option. So I think if you want to kind of get your FPL season off to a little bit of a differential start, then I would go and look at Sterling. But if you want to kind of go for a safe option, then I would go for Salah. Jack saying no YouTubers seem to be mentioning new signings like Wesley, Ndombele, Pepe, etc. So Pepe probably just because he hasn't been added to the game and he was only announced today. Wesley, I've seen him in a lot of drafts, so definitely seems like the promoted striker to go for. And then with Ndombele, he's a CDM, so I don't think many people are going to be going for a CDM. Please answer on this. What do you think on De Gea, Van Dijk, Robbo, Ake, Digne, Salah, KDB, Perez, Zaha, King, Kane? Looks good. I think that I would downgrade Ake or maybe upgrade him to another option. Maybe even someone like Emerson, as I just don't trust that Bournemouth defense. If Ake does get a transfer, maybe I'd consider him, but otherwise probably not. Does Lanzini compete with other 6.5 midfielders? A very interesting one, as I do think that Lanzini, when he was on form and fit, he was a great option. And I think with that new player of Haller, I've seen some people say that he needs pace to kind of perform well. So I think that Lanzini's especially good at playing those assist balls and those through balls. So if Haller can kind of run in behind a lot of defenses, then that should be a great option, and definitely someone to look at. I think that 6.5 million rate or that kind of budget is quite varied, and we kind of are grasping for a really good option and a standout option from there. Supersport Gaming saying, would you consider Leno over Fabianski? It's a tough one, as I just don't trust that Arsenal defense, and I think that Fabianski will get a lot more saves. Mo Mane saying, roll on August the 9th. Come on, you Reds. I can agree with that. And then we have some other comments saying, Aguero, Kane, or Aubameyang. I'd probably go for... let me just look at the fixtures here quick. It's going to be between Aubameyang and Kane for me. So, personally, I probably would... Okay, I'll go for Kane. After looking at those Arsenal fixtures, they're not the best. So, probably Kane. I think that he's probably going to be a season keeper this season. So, should have a great season for you. Devin Little saying, come on, Wolves, 2-1 boys. They're probably playing their preseason game. I don't know if it's their final preseason game, but... Henrik Snyman saying, Dayvy, please, Walker or Van Dijk if I already have other Man City and Liverpool defenders. I'd say Walker. He's cheaper. Florin saying, any newcomer to the league that you think will do good? I think that West Ham's signing of Haller should do well. I also think there's some players like... that Pepe, I think Pepe is going to do well, just depending on his price, probably going to see how we do. Keane, that's the Everton striker. I think he should do well. I really liked him and watched him play last season for Juventus, so he looks quite exciting. Can I use triple captain to like Keane? Probably Keane from Everton there. I don't know if I would triple captain him first game week. They have Crystal Palace away, which is not that great. Devin saying, nervous for Community Shield. it's a little bit of a tough game to kind of rate, as I think it's one of those, if you win it, you say it's a trophy, but if you lose it, you kind of say it's not. But I think both sides are kind of like a little bit annoyed that they have to play it, as I think they would probably have preferred another preseason game, as the squads are looking a little bit thin. Man City's probably a little bit better because they've got some replacements, but Liverpool's they just got a lot of players back from vacation, so I think that we'll probably see a lot of rotation in that game. Will Angelino start for Man City? I think Zinchenko will probably start, and then Angelino will be the backup. And I think once Mendy comes back, Mendy will probably win that spot. Why Aspi? Do you think of the fixtures does matter? So Aspi, I have him as I think that Chelsea are pretty solid, usually defensively, and I think that their fixtures here are quite nice. Just a little bit of variation to most teams, as I haven't seen many Chelsea players in a lot of drafts. Would you upgrade Perez to Madison if you could? I don't think so. I think I would probably stick with Perez. But if Perez comes out and is not starting a lot of games, then Madison's probably the set starter for you if you can't afford Vardy. Ahmed's saying Redmond is a good option probably, so I think that he could be. I just don't know if I would be seeking Southampton options so early on. Maybe only if I really needed to kind of get some cheap enablers in my team. Josh asking thoughts on Calvert-Lewin, please. I think with this new signing of Keane, I think that he's not going to be getting many minutes. I think that Keane's probably going to be the starting striker for them. And I think that was probably one of the reasons why he moved to Everton, is that they could guarantee him first team football. Best 7 more midfielder: Zaha, Felipe Anderson, Madison. Zaha, I can't really judge now, as I don't know where he's going to be ending up come the end of this transfer period. So I'd probably go for Madison. What's your take on Kane, Salah, and Sterling in one team? I think that if you can kind of get it in your squad without the detriment of your defense, then that looks like a very appealing option. And it almost reminds me of how I used to play FPL. I used to have a lot of premium options, and then a couple of budget enablers around them that would allow me to kind of get those big options. Matthew, who's saying Love Island has finished, Dayvy. I honestly thought that I had missed Love Island, because usually when I stream on a Monday, a lot of viewers are reminding me to stop streaming at about 9 o'clock because Love Island's about to start. So thanks for keeping us updated, Matthew. I don't personally watch Love Island, but it seems to be quite a popular show over there in England. Newcastle with only 48 goals against in 18/19, and now more defensive team and coach, Adam says. I think you can always kind of count on Newcastle. I just think not from the start. You're probably going to be, I'll show you an example here. Let's take Matt Ritchie. Their fixtures at the start are pretty bad. I think that from around game week 9, you can start bringing them in. But I don't see the point of kind of opting for them when they have these tough fixtures at the start. Another question I've seen asked quite a bit was when to wildcard. So I'm always an advocate, as I said, for you can't really plan your wildcard, but if I was to kind of look at the fixture swing, I would kind of base it around Liverpool, as I think Man City's run's a little bit more favourable, with only kind of a rough patch around the game week 12 to 17, but they still have some nice fixtures in between, whereas Liverpool kind of have quite a rough form from about here, where they only have Aston Villa away, which could be worth keeping for this fixture. But I'd probably say around game week 9, which is a fixture swing, and then you can bring in the players again, because you're probably going to be wanting them in for this game week 13 to kind of game week 21 run. Who do you think will be the assist king this season? I'll probably go for Sterling or KDB. If KDB plays every single minute, I'd go for him. Sashlin Pillay saying, shout out from Johannesburg, great content. Thanks a lot, brother. Michael Bryan saying, how do you think Chelsea will do without Hazard? I think they're going to struggle a lot. I think they're going to have to take a shift to a more defensive side, and I don't know how that's going to go, because in my opinion, Lampard's a very attacking manager. You could see that with Derby County. So it's going to be interesting to see what he kind of fills that team with. I think he's going to play a lot of youth players and that kind of thing. So one to keep our eye on. As I said, those Chelsea options are quite cheap. So it's quite worth taking a punt on them if you need some kind of differential. Jonathan, good luck, saying best 4.5 defender budget. I'd go for Taylor from Burnley. Do you play Super Brew Premier League predictions? I do play Super Brew. I play the general Super Sport League, and then I have a league of me versus one of my friends. It's just me versus him. So that's quite fun. Is Yarmolenko a good option in midfield? I'd probably go for a more like asserted option that we kind of know will do well. I think this is going to be a good season for him as he hopefully he doesn't pick up another injury, and then it's going to be a lot easier to judge him. Thoughts on Isaiah Diop? He was in my best kind of budget enablers video. I think that he probably is a good defender to go for if you're looking for a budget option. I think West Ham have some very nice fixtures to go by and should probably do quite well. Why do you opt Perez over Tielemans? Just because Perez, I think, should play that front two with Vardy, and then he's a little bit of an out of position player. So that's quite useful. Callum saying petition for Dayvy to make a FIFA 20 Ultimate Team. It's something that I've been considering dipping my toes into the FIFA kind of content, but I'm very cautious about kind of varying content when I've stuck to something for so long, and I think a lot of people have subscribed to me because of the FPL. Mo saying hello from South Africa, and Moa13V saying hi from Mauritius. I'm glad to have you joining us from Mauritius. You have a beautiful country. If Manchester United get Dybala and Fernandes, will that affect your team? Probably. I think I'll definitely be looking at a player like Pogba in that case. All the right stuff. Yerry Mina goal threat. As far as I'm concerned, apparently Yerry Mina is banned because he was gambling or taking sports bets. So just something to check up on before you bring him into your squad. It might be completely false. Fernandes deal falling through. Fernandes in talks with Spurs. I did see that on Sky Sports before I jumped on the stream. It'll be interesting to see where he lands up. Definitely seems that he's leaving. I think he plays for, is it Sporting Lisbon? So it definitely seems like he's going to be having a transfer this season. KDB or Bernardo? KDB. Barkley looks revived under Lampard. Yes, he has. Nikita versus Greenwood, probably Greenwood. I don't know if Nikita is going to be starting, especially with the likes of Pepe, Aubameyang and Lacazette. Dave said, Everton looked really bad in preseason. Worried? Yes, I am. They've looked quite shoddy, but then again, quite a lot of teams have, so I don't know how much to look into it, but it is definitely a dilemma I'm having. Best Chelsea budget defender, Zuma versus Emerson. I've heard that Zuma might be on his way out of Chelsea, so I would probably opt for Emerson in that case. Pank Gaming saying, what about KDB? Great option. I just kind of favor Sterling a little bit, but if you can kind of get Sterling and KDB in, then that's quite good. The Rooster Booster one saying, guess I'm invisible. I can see you, so obviously not. Everton, no Gay defensive issues. I think that it will impact them, but I do think with players like Andre Gomez, hopefully he can fill that spot, and obviously with Fabian Delph signing for Everton, that could potentially come into play, but I do think that Gay is going to be a great miss, as I think he won the most tackles in the top 5 leagues last season. What about Rashford and Martial? Interesting options. If Rashford and Martial play a front two, that could be quite nice. I don't really know who's the set starter there for Man United. It seems like Martial was playing up front for them, but Rashford, obviously signing that new contract, should play for them. The Rooster Boost saying, if Harry Elliott comes in at 4.5 million, how about him as a differential? You'll never walk alone. So obviously a Liverpool fan, I'm glad to have you on. I just don't think that Harvey Elliott's going to be playing many minutes. I think that's a player that's going to go into the reserves or the under-21s and then kind of should play from there. But I don't think he's going to be having many minutes. And I think it's a little bit of wishful thinking to to think that we're going to be bringing him into our squads. So sorry to maybe burst the bubble there, the Rooster Booster one, but I think that we probably could opt for better Liverpool options. Then Dale saying, keep on making that content, puppy. You're my boy. Thanks a lot for the £2 donation there through Super Chat, Dale. I really appreciate the support for the channel, and I've hoped that you've enjoyed the stream. No worries, the Rooster Booster, happy to answer the question. Sorry if I don't get to all of them. Sometimes the chat goes a little bit too fast. Jonah saying a replacement for Ake. I would probably stretch the budget a little bit and go for maybe Zinchenko or Emerson. What's your opinion on Ceballos? I think that's how you pronounce it, at 5.5. An interesting option. I don't know too much about him, but he's an attacking midfielder, and if he does secure minutes in that Arsenal lineup, I could see him doing well. I just think that I'd probably go for other Arsenal options. However, with that, with his cheap price of 5.5, he's almost worth taking a risk on. Almost a little bit like Ross Barkley. It's kind of that price where you're willing to bench him if you need so. So it's almost worth just taking a punt and saying, hey, whatever. What happens, happens. What about Allison or Edison? I would probably go for other outfield options than Allison or Edison. For example, instead of Edison, I would go for a player like Walker. Is it smart to only have fullbacks in the defense? Yes, I think it is smart. However, you don't just have to go for fullbacks, but the thing about fullbacks is they offer a little bit more attacking threat, so that's why a lot more people kind of opt for them instead of your traditional centre backs. You, however, don't have to set up your team like a proper football team with 2 centre backs and 2 wing backs. You can kind of do whatever you want. Zip Zap Zig, hi Dayvy, how's it going? Glad for you to have joined us. About 85% of Fantasy Football Scout subscribers have 2 pool defense. Do you think it's too risky to go with only 1? I don't think it's too risky to go with only 1. I think that it's risky to not have a Liverpool defender, but because of their price, who's to say that the player you spend your budget on isn't going to outperform a Liverpool defender? It's all up to you and your team. But if something that you want to kind of do is go with a site like Fantasy Football Scout, then especially if you're new to the game, it's always good to kind of go for what the players that have been playing for a long time go with. So you could go for that. Adam saying Lovren may be close to Roma. That probably makes the centre-back options a little bit scarce for Liverpool. So if one of them gets injured, I think Gomez will come straight in. What about Vardy? Very good player. I think he's going to have a great season. I just can't afford him at my price. Jay saying, what about Van Dijk? I just think that if you can stretch your budget, Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold are better options. Coleman and TAA, or Digne and VDV. Coleman and TAA. Henrik Stamer saying, thoughts on Kanye West? Great FPL player. Comes in at 15.5 million, but I think he's going to be worth it. Scores a lot of goals. Carlo saying, is Laporte going to play versus West Ham? I know that he's a doubt for Liverpool, but we should have news from Pep either after the Community Shield game or in a press conference before the West Ham game to kind of tell us if he will start. A little bit worrying though, because I know that he was kind of my choice if I wanted to go for a nailed Man City defender. Tanir, I can't pronounce that name that well. Tanirm. Refat asking, I says, answer my question please. Kane plus Siggy or Sterling plus any 7 mil defender? Sterling plus any 7 mil defender. Matty saying, I'm afraid King is a big trap. Could potentially, I know that he's burnt a lot of players in the past, so I think maybe just want to take a punt on with that cheap budget forward, but the fixtures are quite nice for Bournemouth, so it's probably worth taking my punt now than the end of the season. What about Mahrez? It's a tough one because I think with Mahrez, unless maybe Man City play with Sterling at centre forward, I don't think that he's going to be offering that much threat for us. Gareth Robertson asking, please, Dayvy, thoughts on Robertson from Sheffield. So Gareth Robertson asking about Robertson from Sheffield and TAA. for Robertson because of corners and frees. I would go for TAA, but I just think that Robertson's more nailed in that position. In terms of Robertson from Sheffield, I think that this was the player that was very impactful for them. I think he might be on penalties as well. I'm not sure though. But I don't know about the promoted sides. I'm not the best person to ask. And I don't really recommend going for promoted players at the start of the season, as it might be a little bit too risky, as we don't know how they're going to kind of react to that. It's Tan Im. Thanks for answering my question. A pleasure, Tan Im. I'm sorry that I butchered your name a little bit there. Thoughts on Lundstrom? I have him in my lineup here. He's a Sheffield United player that has played preseason in midfield, so a little bit of an out of position player. And the thing about him is that he is 4 million, so absolutely a steal if he's going to be playing there. But otherwise, guys, we have been live for an hour and 30 minutes. So I think that I'm going to be probably calling it here. If you have missed the stream, you can easily catch up on it. It's going to be on replay for all you guys. So I really appreciate all of you joining and answering and asking me questions. And hopefully I've answered them in a manner that has been rewarding for you and you have gained some knowledge and information from it. Thanks again for 9,000 subscribers. You guys have been absolutely insane, and I really appreciate all the support you show me. I absolutely love the community we have here. We have some great banter, and I love the comments you guys drop on the video. And I really apologize if you think that I'm not seeing the comments, but I do. I see every single comment that you guys drop, and I see the ones that you guys are offering suggestions as well, which I really appreciate. And I've seen, and I'm sorry that today if I haven't answered your question, but there's been quite a couple, so I've hoped that they've kind of been brought in with other people's questions. So thanks again for 9K, and I'll see you in a new video dropping tomorrow. It's going to be a cracker in my opinion. I think that you guys are hopefully going to be enjoying it. I think that it's a great video, a little bit different to the normal thing, but in my personal opinion, it's my most interesting video that I've ever created. So that'll be dropping tomorrow, but otherwise, I'll see you probably again live on the 10K stream, which is absolutely incredible for me to say. I'm just so thankful to be at the position that we're about to hit 10K. So thanks again. If you haven't subscribed yet, drop that subscribe and maybe even hit that notification bell so that you can be alerted so you don't miss future streams. But otherwise, I'm going to be signing off. This has been Dayvy FPL and I'm out. Cheers. Bye.